All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Bearded Fishing Chats. I am your host, Colby Roy, and tonight, you guys, as usual, we love to bring on people who were big fans of their show, but not only that, people who can give value to my audience and people who I can have a really good conversation with. So I got my main man, Marshall, here, aka the Homeless Fisherman. If you guys have not checked him out yet, do yourselves a huge favor. If you like good fishing content, quality fishing content, subscribe to this man's channel, please. Help him out, support his stuff. I only bring quality guests on the show, you guys. And as always, it's my pleasure to introduce you guys to Marshall, aka the Homeless Fisherman. Marshall, welcome to Bearded Fishing Chats, my man. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. It is a little hot and humid down here in Texas, but thank you so much for having me on. We're also joined by Archie here. He is down here on the deal.
Oh, nice. Right on.
So
Right
he's
on, bro.
with us. He's down here chilling. But yes, he's here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, like I said, bro, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Like I said, man, I've been following you from afar here for a little while. I can tell that your passion of fishing really comes out in your videos. And I always thought, geez, you know what? I have to talk to this guy, see what he's all about and stuff. So, Marshall, you're obviously a very passionate fisherman. What was the inspiration for you bringing it to the social media forefront?
So I've always been like a big animal lover. Like I just love reptiles and whatever. And when I was younger, I spent most of my time outside catching reptiles, lizards, snakes, whatever I could get my hands on. And I always remember going down to the dock and seeing people hold up like these freshwater drum that would be catching one of my home lakes. And I'd see people hold them up and I'm like, oh, I want to touch that, like little 9-year-old me. And then finally, my dad's not a big fisherman, but I was like, hey, like, let's go fishing, Dad. Like, you got to take me fishing. And he took me fishing. And then I caught a bluegill. And of course, it was just all hell was loose from there. And then, just later down the line, social media is a really good way to get in touch with people and like make new friends and stuff like that. So at first it just started as like, hey, like we're all connected this way, so let's get on the platform. And the more and more I posted, it was just growing slowly. And then eventually when I actually did like transition to being the homeless fisherman, like get homeless and stuff like that and started posting, that's when everything kind of really started like taking off. And a lot of people started following along, which is super crazy. It's still humbling when I meet people at the dock that know me, and I'm just like, wow, that's wild. And never would have thought I'd be here. I've always wanted to have like a Steve Irwin-esque show, and this is about as close as I can get. So I'm pretty happy.
Old school Steve Irwin, huh, man? You know what, man? When I was a kid, and of course I'm in my mid 30s now. When I was a kid, I used to follow Steve Irwin, and you know what? That dude used to make me nervous. He'd have his face right in front of like dangerous snakes and his accent, and it's like, oh my god! Like, I hope this guy doesn't get like hurt or anything like that because he's got his face like within 1 inch of a snake, and I'm like, man, this dude's gonna be careful. I'm like, he used to make me nervous, man. But I used to love his show though. He's a good guy.
Yeah, dude. Unfortunately, I was very, very sad when it did finally happen.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
That was a tough. I remember that was a tough day. I was like, damn, that was a killer. But like I said, he has put enough like kindness and good-hearted information into the world where I feel like it's almost sort of my duty to like, here, I can pass this on now and show everybody else the same joys that I got to experience from watching that show.
Well, you know what, man? I'll be honest with you. I really like what you just said. It's not often that people look at putting out fishing content as putting out goodness into the world, but I'm so glad you said that because there's really quite a bit to be said about that. Like, there's so much negativity in the world that if you can bring out something good, with the outdoors and have that philosophy like you have, all the more better. And I think that's impressive because I've never really heard anybody say it that way, but that's really impressive, man. And I can get behind that completely.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just something like, I don't know. We all get the same feeling. It doesn't matter what you fish for or how you fish, or even if you're not even fishing, hunting and stuff like that. Like that, like experience of going out and doing the outdoor stuff. And okay, wait, can you hear me? Sorry, I got an amber alert.
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Anyways, that getting out and getting like a primal experience. You know what I mean? It's like that's what you need as a human. Like a lot of people say stuff like, I hear people say stuff where they're like, yeah, I don't really like to go out in nature. And I'm like, that you are part of the nature. You know what I mean? Like you need that as a person to grow and learn and stuff, to go out there and just experience the world. And catching animals, fishing, hunting, like all that stuff, you know what I mean? Doing it responsibly is super important. And I love to share that feeling, with my friends. That's great.
Well, and I'll also touch on this too, Marshall. I also think that I'm not like a guy that can sit inside all day, and I honestly think that when people do sit inside all day, they end up staying inside for too long. I think it gets kind of depressing after a while, and like when you're really connected with the outdoors, I just really feel like on a spiritual level and on every other level, it just sort of makes you better. It's sort of a cleansing feeling, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is your roots as a human being. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just being outdoors, and there's a big disconnect there nowadays. I feel like, and that's not to bash on anybody. Just, it's like, hey, I'll show you this, and make everybody happier as a result. Because that is the leading cause, I would say, of, this generation's like depression. Like our percentage of depression is very high, you know what I mean? Because you spend a lot of time inside. That sucks. you know?
Oh, and honestly, man, I find that to be so true. And it's like there's honestly not enough people saying this, saying that, hey, get outside, get
hmm
off your couch, get outside. And man, there's just so much about that that's so relevant to today. Now, we talked about Steve Irwin. Now, who are some of your other influences as far as like making this whole thing happen that you have?
Definitely. Let me think of some really good ones. I love Steve Irwin. I love like Jeff and all these animal guys. But in terms of like fishing influences, I guess I'm really influenced by like the people who go out and like just do their own thing. They don't have any rules set by anybody. They're just going and fishing the way. Honestly, a lot of them are like not even people that I kind of grew up with. It's more recently that I'm discovering all these people here in Austin and stuff like Caleb at Shad Sharks on Instagram, Dylan, Kershey, Bobby, all these guys that I've met down here that are super cool. And they don't have like giant followings or anything, but these are just dudes going out there and just doing whatever they want because they like it, and they don't fish by anybody else's rules. And I watch that and I'm just like, man, I respect that, because that's, what I find the most joy is in fishing is coming up with your own style and getting creative and coming up with solutions that nobody else is thinking of. You know what I mean? Like trying to think outside the box to make that fish bite and stuff like that. There are no rules. You can just go out and fish however you want, and it doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna like you don't have to listen to anybody, which I like. It's enjoyable for sure, and it's you against you. That's it. So yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, man, you know what? I think with YouTube and social media, and with the fact that you and I have already kind of touched up on this and stuff, but like it allows you to build your own brand without any rules. There's not much of a barrier to entry, which is good. And people can really build their own names. Whereas, like maybe when you and I were kids and stuff like that, YouTube wasn't around. There wasn't much barriers, or excuse me, there was more barriers because you had to be a guy on TV, such
Yeah.
as Bill Nance, Jimmy Houston, or anybody else to actually build any type of a following. But
hmm
now that social media is a thing, it allows guys like yourself and me to build a unique perspective on it. And like I said, there's not that barrier to entry because I always felt like back in the day, and you probably know what I'm talking about, that like it was the guys who had the money who could really get the following via a TV deal. But now you don't need a TV deal. If you have a good hook, a good vibe, if you have some sort of genuineness about you that sets you apart from somebody else, that's honestly the way to succeed nowadays.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love, social media has a lot of downsides, and it is very like predatory in some ways, and you got to
Yeah.
like be careful with it. But at the same time, there are so many great avenues opened with it that it's just something you got to learn to manage. Even me, like sometimes I catch myself like doom scrolling, and I'm like, okay, I need to put that down and just like focus. But it's hard with it's your job. It's like back and forth. But yeah, for sure, there's so many avenues. You can make it doing whatever you want as long as you are just like absolutely persistent. You know what I mean? In it. And I don't make a lot of money doing this. I do this full time. I don't make a lot of money doing it. Not having rent really helps a lot, but
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
other, it's just like I hope it will go somewhere far, and it's come a lot. It's come a long way since a few years ago. Like Jesus, the growth is insane, and just the stuff I've gotten to do and experience is just nuts. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. No, I wouldn't trade it for any like stable job.
And you know what, man? I don't blame you at all. Now that segues into what I was going to say next. Now, you obviously experience what a lot of other content creators experience, the slow growth at first.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to the guy who's just starting a fishing channel who is discouraged that it's not growing as quick as he thought it would?
Just do not follow the cookie cutter, like examples of, and like that might work for a short amount of time, just going by, the stencil. Like that might work for a little while, but that's just something that's not gonna be around forever. I always try and say, just like, dude, just as long as you do your own thing, come up with your own stuff, get creative, and just keep at it. Like, do not forget, as long as you are genuinely enjoying yourself and you're making the stuff that you're proud of, it eventually will get out there. You'll get good enough at making it, and you'll figure out the little tricks along the way, you know what I mean, that make it fun for people to watch. But other than that, as long as you're just constantly doing the stuff you like to do and make a product that you're proud of, you know what I mean? Don't make a product because, oh, this guy makes videos like this, so I need to make a catch and cook or whatever. Like, like you don't have to do all that, right? It might help, and it might be like a good short burst, but that's not going to make people follow you for you. That's just going to be like, oh, watch that video, and then that's it, gone. So I try and just stick to like me. You know what I mean? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what people follow me for. At least I think that's what everybody says. They're like,
Yes.
you're different, and that's why try and stick to that. Stick to your guns. That's the biggest thing, man. Just keep going. It gets better, I swear. It always gets better. So
Well, and you know what is interesting too, and I have a good buddy of mine who, because I used to do like true crime content. I'm sort of getting back into it little by little, but obviously fishing's my passion. Shout out to my good buddy RJ Roger over at Black Handprint Mafia, over at No Excuses. He's probably one of the better content creators in the space. And when he was one of the people who inspired me to do this fishing channel, because he was always like, you always talk about fishing and you always have such a passion for it, and it comes out when you speak about it. And what I've realized is, starting this out, I've grown a lot faster than I did starting out in the true crime content space. And it sort of goes into what you're saying, though. It's just, if your passion comes out and your own brand comes out and your own uniqueness comes out, you really do seem to get people who, when they follow you, they really love you, because it's not even just the fish you catch, it's kind of you. They like something about you, and it's the example why that I had you in this channel, because yeah, man, you've caught some stellar fish. I mean, there's no doubt about that, man, but you're a very genuine guy, and that's why, like, you're a likable guy, and that's why, yeah, sure, people can see anybody catch a big fish, but if they hate the guy on the end of the camera, well, then what the hell's the point?
exactly, yeah. It's I try and just, like I said, focus on just the stuff I put out. I enjoy it. I put it out and I go, man, that was a good video. And I put out videos before where I was like, that is not a good video. Like I can tell, because I'm like, oh, I wasn't in it, or I was sad that day, or something, like something was throwing me off, right? And I can tell, and that I have a lot of videos in the log that I don't even upload, that people are like, I show them to my buddies and they're just like, yeah, it's a fine video, but it's just like, it does not, you don't have the same vibe. And I'm like, yeah, I won't upload that. Like I don't like that, you know. You have to like it yourself, you know what I mean? And that's why a lot of my videos now I use like a ridiculous amount of copyrighted music, and I don't get paid on YouTube at all. But I wouldn't sacrifice that because I love the videos I make. You know what I mean? Like that, just like whatever. If I was making it with like royalty free shit, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have that same flair. So I'll take it. I'll eat that.
Well, and you know what? If it suits you, man, and if it makes you feel good, then all the better on that one, man. You know what I mean? That's a good way to put it.
That's the thing. You don't have to listen to anybody else in the sport. It's your own. It's your own thing. You can do whatever you want. And those people who are hating, like, they're not even going to help you anyway. So
That that's
regardless.
exactly right. Now, what are kind of some of the negatives of this, social media fishing stuff? Because we can both agree there's a lot of positives, and we've talked about that. But something I've been told before I got into this space was, hey, for the most part, everybody's real nice, but there's definitely going to be like some downsides to it. Kind of give me your take on it, just as somebody who's curious, and maybe my audience would even like to know too.
Yeah. So definitely like some of the biggest negatives. I mean, like hate comments are like just rampant. Like, anytime you get a video that does any better than the rest of your videos, you're gonna have some people like go on there and say all kinds of shit. Like I had one the other day. I don't know if you saw the 8 trap video where I was figure eighting the fish with the Roman made mother. But that one, I mean, riddled with like, oh, that's a stock pond. Like those are dock pets and like all this shit. And I'm like, dude, it would have taken, and I go in my head, right? And I'm like, man, it would have taken that dude 5 seconds to go look at my account and know I'm the real deal. And then I just got to go breathe in real quick, breathe out, and matter. Like he left that comment and then it's gone. And then he is not thinking about it. I'm thinking about him. He's in my head. Like, the comments will get to you. The other thing is just like the expectations set by other people that is like, it's hard to beat, dude. Like a lot of times people will always say like, hey man, like like I'm not catching these caliber fish and da, da, da. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, are you are you enjoying the fish you're catching? That if yes, then you're not doing anything wrong. Like just keep fishing and you'll learn. You know what I mean? I don't even consider myself like one of those like top dog anglers. Like like there's a lot of people that I know around here that are way better than I am. Like I just get to fish a lot, so I see a lot of stuff. That is part of it. Is if you're out all the time, you get it. So those expectations set. Don't don't even worry about that shit. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Excuse me, stuff. I don't know.
No, dude, you're fine. You can say whatever you want, man.
We were doing all that, but yeah, it's like you can't compare yourself to some dude who's in Florida just absolutely whacking 100-pound tarpon. He's got a peacock bass and a 10-pounder every week. Like, dude, none of that matters. Hell, I live in Texas and I have one 10-pounder my entire life. You know what I mean? And I fish a lot. And everybody's like, oh, you don't have a 10-pounder. Like, it just whatever. I enjoy it and it'll happen. It'll happen if it's gonna happen. But if not, whatever. you know.
And you know what I find very interesting? So last night I had Hank Rogers on my show, who has the channel called Bass Geek. And you and him kind of remind me of each other in a sense of your approaches. Because you know what? He's a tournament guy, and he approaches it like, hey, it's not about winning, it's about learning and enjoying it. And you have very much the same approach based upon what you just told me. It's about enjoying what you're doing. And man, I'll go back to it this way. Even if you don't, let's say, catch as big of a fish as some other content creators, man, I really do feel like people will just like your content for you. The size of the fish at the end of the day is nice, but I feel like a lot of people will follow you for you.
Yeah, I feel like a big thing is like I mean, I've said this before, but you have to love the chase as much as you love what you're chasing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Goal is great. Set a goal and go for it. Cause like in life, you need a sort of pursuit to keep going. You know what I mean? Like my goal is I want to put a world record paddleboard fish into place. You know what I mean? Like there's no like official world record, but I want to get one where I'm like, okay, that one's set in stone. That one's up here. But also at the same time, like I'm going to pursue that super hard, but I'm also not going to be like, oh dude, like I didn't catch a 10-pounder day. I didn't catch an 8-pound. Like, you can't be like that. You just got to take every day. Like, man, I may have caught them if I did this, but I know I didn't catch them doing this and the conditions were this, and just learn. Just keep learning, because that's all it is. It's just a constant chase, and enjoy it. Enjoy, it's like the deal. You got to enjoy pushing the rock up the hill, even if you never get to the top. Like you just learn to enjoy what you're doing, and you will find your meaning in that.
Yeah, man, and you know what? I can really resonate so much with what you're saying, man. I'm really enjoying this chat so far because you're touching up on things that I feel like I've been saying for years, but now I'm saying it on air with you, which it's a blessing like that, man. And I'm glad you brought this up. You almost have to love learning in order to be truly good at this. You honestly have to just love the process of it rather than always the result.
You have to love failing in a way.
Yeah,
You have to be like, got my ass whooped today, and you have to enjoy it. You have to say it with a smile on your face, and that's when I see people who can do that. When I see people out there that get their ass handed to them and they're smiling at the end of the day, I know they're going far. When I see the dude who loses a fish and he gets mad and he throws his rod on the deck or whatever, like, and he's just storms off the lake, I'm like, you're not going any farther than where you're at. You're stuck. You know what I mean? You are not make that jump. But the guy who's walking off the lake smiling, caught nothing, that's the dude who's gonna get far. Like you can just see it. You know what I mean? Like I can see it in those people. Like all my buddies around here that I hang out with, they have that energy. and they're going to get there. They're going to get there, but they enjoy it while they're working towards it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good lesson in life, period, is that, sometimes like when you fail, there's something better coming. And sometimes when one thing doesn't work out, something else is going to. And like I said, if my buddy RJ and a few other of my buddies hadn't said, "Hey Colby, you love fishing, you need to do fishing," and maybe still do the other stuff, but stick to fishing, it's like had I have not had like maybe not as much success as I wanted in one area, I wouldn't have realized how much I truly enjoyed doing this so much more instead. And I have the utmost confidence in it, even if it's a little bit slow growth at first. And kind of going back to like what you're saying, you lose that big fish, but you walk off the lake with a smile, knowing that there'll be other opportunities coming.
Absolutely.
That's the way to do it.
Absolutely, that's the only way. Walk off the lake smiling. I came up with that, so I gotta remember that and tell other people that. Sometimes
walk off the lake smiling. That might be a T-shirt for you, brother.
seriously, gonna put that one in the bank. But
if you ever make a T-shirt like that, you message me and I'm gonna buy it from you.
All right, let's do it. It could be a collab.
Dude, stellar, absolutely stellar, bro, absolutely stellar. So now, the paddleboard thing. I have to admit, Marshall, I have not seen very many people use a paddleboard to fish, which takes, my opinion, that's a whole other skill set at that point, because you're maneuvering around something different. Now, is that your favorite style, so to speak?
Yeah, I definitely catch the most and biggest fish, for me personally, on a paddleboard. I fished off just about everything known to man. I've been the bank fisherman. I've been the little John boat guy. I've never had like a nice boat, but all of the like cheap equipment I've gone through. You know what I mean? The only thing I have yet to try is a float tube, which is on my list. I want to get one. That's just like something I've thought of. You know what I mean? But the paddleboard for me, it's usually like paddleboard versus kayak in my mind.
Yeah.
Whenever I used to fish off a kayak, like, to me, all the problems that you had on a kayak are sort of solved on a paddleboard for the most, as long as you are like limber and fit enough to do it. Like, I know some people just need the backrest and stuff like that, and I get it. It's not anything against you guys who need a good seat. I get it. It's genuinely like a thing where you have to work on your posture. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of stretching, and this is all to work towards perfecting like the technique. But for me, being like the biggest thing is being able to drop my legs into the water, like straddle the board, and I can spin them and kick the way I want to. I can hold in the wind. I can turn my nose without having to paddle. I just feel like there's so many opportunities I would miss on my kayak, where it's like, oh, I pick up my paddle with one rod and then the fish bites and I miss it and stuff like that. But it for me is the best method to get on the water, not only to be the stealthiest, but it's also super easy. My paddleboard goes right here in my van. I don't have room for a Hobie. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna go in here. It's cheap too. If I break it, it was $200 on Amazon. I could ship one the next.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't break the bank. And not to say that they're breaking on me all the time. This is my third one in like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, but they're durable enough to last you a year. And I feel like $200 for a year is like pretty fair, right?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Most of them take you even farther than that if you don't fish as much as me, which is most people. And I understand. Yeah, dude, the paddleboard is just, it's something, again, it's also with that thing where it's like, it's a blank slate to me. I look at it and it's literally just a flat board, and I can put anything on it. I bungee my crate to the back, and then I can put all my attachments on my crate, and then I can really dial in the setup as far as I need to go. Like, okay, my net can go here. I can clip this on here. And I feel like in a kayak, I feel sort of just like boxed in, where it's like, okay, my storage has to go here, and then my legs have to go here. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's sort of limiting in a way. Whenever you take all that away and you're just left with a blank slate, it gets you creative on situations and different scenarios. And every time I see somebody else down here with a paddleboard setup they're fishing off of, I learn something. I'm like, man, that's cool. You got that set up. How'd you do that? And then they tell me about it, and then I kind of tweak mine. And, it keeps evolving. But it's always to like, go towards that, the the perfection of like the system. There's all kinds of systems with it. And yeah, the paddleboard is just, it's my favorite way to fish. I think it's my favorite way, and I have the most success that way for sure. The only other thing that I would say I probably have more success from, like in terms of stealth would be fishing from the bank. Like you almost can't get more stealthy than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can float, you're deadly.
That's awesome. And you know what's interesting is that I had never even thought to even try it. And I would love to try it because it's like you said, there is a stealthy, almost a stealthiness about it. And I would think a paddleboard would be very quiet. I think you really wouldn't scare a lot of fish off. Like I would think it'd be very quiet because there are, some fish even that kind of spook more than others. Like what I realized even recently is that if you fish lakes that are clear that have catfish in it, if you toss a bait in front of a catfish, they'll actually sometimes take off and stuff like that. So they can actually be kind of skittish. And that was kind of where I was thinking. I was like, well, maybe I need to change my approach and try, another raft or something like that. So, it's almost like if I do try a paddleboard, it's going to be because of you at this point.
Yeah. Well, to me, right, as well. So I 100% agree with you. A paddleboard literally, since it's inflatable, it sits on top of the water. It doesn't
Yep.
sit in water. You're not cutting through anything. You are on top of the water. You are already creating less displacement. You know what I mean? Less vibrations. Those fish down there, like, I mean, you don't have to pay attention to all this, but like I said, I want to catch a world record. Like I want to get a giant fish, the biggest one I can. And you have to dial in all those little systems so it's perfect. Like I want to give that fish full credit that he knows I'm there for the most part, like they are masters of their environment down there. They don't think about anything else like we do. We were like daydreaming, got all this stuff going on in our head, but they can hear everything. I don't know if you've ever swam underwater and you can hear a boat motor from like 5 miles.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like trolling motor right against the bank is loud. It's the way, like the sound waves like bounce against the bank, and it's just like there's so much noise going on there. And I think a lot of people don't give the fish enough credit when it comes to that, especially those bigger, older fish as
Yeah.
they grow, go through different traumas and they experience different stuff. And 99% of bass have been caught when there's a trolling motor around. You know what I mean? So they know, they're like, okay, I'm keyed in, especially those bigger ones. They just learn. I think people, like I said, don't give them enough credit for sure. The paddleboard is super duper stealthy, but even as stealthy as it is, you still gotta like be quiet and make good casts and all this stuff. Like it's gotta be perfect. There's a passage in the Bill Murphy book, In Pursuit of Giant Bass, and he talks about like a point system. So you start out the day and you have 50 points. When you roll up on a spot and you cut your motor off too like close to the spot, you're minus a point. When you bang the trolling motor, minus another point. You accidentally drop a tackle box, minus another point. And then the more points you have by the time you're presenting to that fish, the better chance you have. You know what I mean? So you want to try and get as many points as you can, like just starting out. Because
Yeah.
if you're already minus 10 points by the time your bait's in front of the fish, like, who knows if he's going to eat it or not. I want to be sure.
Yeah, wow, man. And I think that because like you're so honed in on this, I really think that you could be the guy that could break that paddleboard record because I'm not sure there's a lot of people who would even consider doing that. But that just proves that you have a certain talent though, because you know what? In all honesty, this is no offense to anybody. I think it would take much more skill to catch a fish on a paddleboard like that versus a bass boat, let's just say. Now, the 50-point system. Now, I think I have heard of that before. Who introduced that again? Because I'm pretty sure that I've heard of that before.
Got the book right here.
You do.
This is my favorite book ever, and everyone needs to read it. I'm
Let me see
sorry.
that.
Whenever I posted this,
Yeah.
people were texting me and they were like, "Hey, like I can't find this book in stock anywhere." And I'm so sorry. I probably blew it out of the water. But if you can get your hands on a copy of this, it is an amazing read. And I have like all these pages like bookmarked.
Oh, I can tell. Yeah. You definitely.
Here is absolutely nuts. It is a pretty boring read, I'll say that. But In Pursuit of Giant Bass by Bill Murphy. If you can read it, if you can really sit down and focus on it, just read it in like short spurts. You know what I mean? And then I take and I think about it throughout the day. I'm like, man, like I try and apply the different scenarios that he's talking about. And even like the stuff, there's like a live crawdad fishing section. And I don't fish live bait, but I read it anyway. And I still get little nuggets of information that that someone fishing live bait thinks about differently that I could apply to my own fishing. Just stuff like, hook stealth and everything like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
amazing read. Absolutely amazing read. So Yeah, I love that one.
No kidding. Yeah, because I believe that I had heard of it before, but I didn't know it was that guy who came up with that, which that's really cool.
Yeah, Boomer,
That's
quite the reputation.
nice, nice, nice. Well, hey man, that's always good. Now, so what is the goal of the channel for you kind of going forward and your own personal goals doing what you're doing?
So I really like more recently, especially I've like in the past, I don't know, 6 months to a year, I've really been kind of just like honing back in on like my other hobbies a little bit. Like I know
Yep.
I still fish a lot, but like prior to this, it was like, dude, I dropped everything and I was just fishing for like a year straight, right? No playing guitar, no climbing, no nothing. I was just that, right? And more recently, I've when I was younger, I used to like make skits and like movies and stuff with my friends. Like we would make these just silly stuff, right? Like we would go out and make, but we made it for like a few years. We were making like a series and stuff. Where we just tell us a little story, have our characters in there, do some acting, and that's where I learned to edit really. So that like skill came in very handy like later. So now I'm editing videos, but recently I found like, hey, like I could throw this like acting stuff like into the videos. Like this is so
Yep.
fun. I'm working on one right now that I'm like super excited about. It's like a super fun YouTube video that I just had. I'm having a ton of fun like making it and
Nice.
but and the same thing with like reptiles. Like getting Archie is like a really like big part of my life because I love animals and like experiencing like your favorite things with a pet is like a lot of work, but it is so rewarding. Like just having an animal there, you know what I mean? It like really adds to your person, and it just makes you think about life a little differently. You know what I mean? Like when you don't have a pet and versus when you do. But yeah, I've been trying to get back into my other hobbies and really just focus on like the all around lifestyle, you know what I mean, of like the homeless fisherman, So I guess like I like literally my name is the homeless fisherman, but I barely talk about how I literally live in this van and just do whatever, you know what I mean? So trying to like more focus on that for sure. Because it's hard to capture sometimes. It's hard to capture like like the daily life stuff. It's easy for me to throw a GoPro on a pole and catch a fish and show it to the camera. Like I got that down now, but like I want to show the other stuff for sure. So
Because
yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like you showing the daily life stuff would bring people to you, I think, even more because they would watch now for the fish and you,
Mhm.
which is kind of what I think you already have going anyway. Is that you got people that like your personality and how you carry yourself on the show and stuff. So I don't think that'd be a bad idea, man. I think that'd be a really good idea.
Yeah, I definitely want to lean into that stuff because I haven't leaned into it enough. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely something I want to do. And it just it teaches me more about filming and stuff like that. It teaches me more about setting like a stage and lighting and everything when I'm filming other stuff other than just fishing, because I can film pretty good fishing stuff. So I
Yes,
want
you
to
can.
work on that more. I could be better. You know.
Well, hey, man, there's nothing wrong with constant improvement. Now, what are your favorite fish to catch? Like, I mean, I see you're a bass guy and stuff like that, but you have any others that you really hone in on quite a bit?
So I mean, yeah, I'm mostly a bass guy, but
Yep.
hey, whenever I go like up to Minnesota, smallmouth, dude,
Oh,
smallmouth is
love it.
um and then in the saltwater, I remember fishing in Florida for snook was super fun, and I like want to do that again so bad. But other than like that, here in Texas, I don't really do any other fishing to be honest. Like, um, it's just I don't know. Some of it's inaccessible, like the saltwater stuff. Not completely inaccessible, but I got to drive 7 hours to the coast,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But in terms of freshwater fish, um, I'm a bass guy all the way through because it's always like I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna go fish for this or play around, and then I'm like, man, what if I catch a 10 pounder today? Like, you know what I mean? Like it hits me. I'm like, dude, I should have a bass rod. You know what I mean? Like I can't the chance. Like I can't like waste a chance if that makes sense. But smallmouth are the best. I wish we had them down here like crazy. Um, that's definitely my second love.
Well, and you know what, man? Smallmouth is my first love. I'll definitely say that. I'm a huge smallmouth bass fan. The Midwest, maybe not necessarily Nebraska, but states north of me have phenomenal smallmouth, and boy, do they fight hard. They just and they just fly out of the water, and There's never ending fights. It's you gotta love it, man.
One of my favorite things is going and wading like the Mississippi River in Minnesota and just tearing them up, dude. Like even it doesn't even matter what it's on, dude. Like on top water or a worm, just like getting the strike, you just be like, oh, here we go, and you set the hook and a 4-pounder jumps out of the water. Man, dude, that is so fun. Like
it's incredible, man.
Largemouth are cool every once in a while, but like most of the time, you know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean?
And you're 100% right about that. Now, just to kind of get towards the end here, man, because I don't want to take up too much of your evening. And again, you guys, I'm talking with Marshall, the homeless fisherman. Guys, if I have to say it 100 times, I'll say it 1,000 times. Go and subscribe to this man's channel. Support him. Make it happen. Marshall, what are some good bass fishing tips you can give the audience just in general?
So probably the thing that I tell most people about my bass fishing is to just drop all the like the normal stuff that people tell you. And I know that seems like sort of backwards sometimes, but the stuff that people will tell you, like, hey, if it's cloudy, you need to throw a spinnerbait. If it's sunny, you need to drag a worm. Just throw that out the window, because there are zero facts in fishing. There is none of that is ever true. I mean, every once in a while you get a scenario and like, yeah, for the most part, cloudy day, moving bait, right? And you have general stuff, but never just be like, oh, it is cloudy, so they have to be biting this. Dude, you don't know what they're doing. Like, you never know. Try stuff. Just go out and try stuff. Do what you're good at and try and learn different skills, you know what I mean, as you go. But I think learning it by yourself is better than watching a bunch of YouTube videos and just trying to soak up like that, like tournament information. You know what I mean? Especially if you're just fishing from the bank or a kayak. Like, you're not a tournament guy. Sorry, but you're not running around the boat, you're not running around the lake with a bass boat. You're probably stuck to like one cove or even one section of shoreline, and you got to make those fish bite. So you just do it how you think it's going to work. You know what I mean? Try what you're confident in and just throw it out the window. I don't believe in any of that. You know, people will be like, why are you throwing that? It's sunny. And I'm like, I think it's going to work. That's why.
Yeah, that's right.
That's no other reason. Like, why would I? No, I'm just watching it swim. I just like to watch my lure swim. You know, I just go out there and make my bait swim. I would never want a bass to touch it, but you know how it is. my best tip to everyone.
That's awesome. No, that's definitely very good. Marshall, you and I will hang out backstage here after the show. But you guys, we're gonna wrap up here. If you like this episode, guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Bearded Fishing Chats, my new channel. I've had a blast doing it so far. So much more to come. Live fishing trips coming up. More interviews like this that I had with Marshall tonight. We're gonna have more guests on the channel. And guys, obviously, I'm going to be a gentleman and leave my guest with the final word. Marshall, remind the folks that are going to watch this where they can find your work, my man.
It's at the Homeless Fisherman on Instagram, TikTok, everything. It's all the same. If you'd like to support, go buy one of the shirts from Lateral Vision that we just dropped, the collection. I don't know if you can see it there. It's got
nice.
One of those that would help a lot, or just follow, whatever. You don't have to give me your money. I don't care. And here's Archie for the final goodbye.
Shout out to my man Archie over there. Yes.
My boy sitting here listening to the whole interview. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. Take it easy.
Marshall, man, thank you so much for coming on.